The Little Princess and the Tiny Tornado in the Classroom. In a bright and cheerful kingdom far beyond the misty hills, there stood a tall, twisty castle school called Moon Whisper Magic Academy. This was not an ordinary school. It was a place where tiny sparks danced in jars, where broomsticks hummed like sleepy bees, and where little students learned magic with giggles and wobbly spells. And among those little students was a small princess named Princess Lila. Lila wore a soft pink cloak and carried a wand that glowed faintly like a shy firefly. She wasn't the strongest magician in her class, and her spells didn't always go as planned. Sometimes, flowers grew where bubbles should appear. Sometimes glitter rained down when she meant to turn a page. But she was kind, curious, and very, very brave, even when she didn't feel brave at all. One sunny morning, Lila skipped into her classroom, where wooden desks floated slightly above the floor, and the chalkboard wrote things by itself when the teacher wasn't looking. The windows were open, and a warm breeze fluttered through the curtains. But something felt strange. The curtains weren't just fluttering. They were twisting and spinning, as if invisible hands were turning them around and around. Lila stopped in the doorway. Her friend Benny the Fox Boy was gripping his hat to keep it from flying away. Tilly, who had sparkly butterfly wings, was clinging to her desk like a sailor on a stormy sea. In the center of the room, papers whirled in the air like a spinning snowstorm. And right in the middle of it all was a tiny tornado. Not a big one. Not a dangerous, sky-ripping, house-lifting tornado. No. This was a small, puffy, spinning tornado no taller than a puppy. It twirled like a dancing ballerina, picking up pencils, ribbons, socks, and even a teacup from the teacher's desk. It wasn't scary exactly, but it was very, very messy.
Oh, my feathers! The tiny tornado is back!
Tilly squeaked. Benny's ears flattened.
My homework is going to get blown into next week.
Their teacher, Miss Bramble, who had the calmest voice in the whole kingdom, hurried in with her hat askew.
Oh dear, not again.
She sighed. The tiny tornado whizzed past, snatching a paintbrush and splashing blue paint across the ceiling. Miss Bramble clapped her hands.
Class, stay calm. This is a baby twister. It's playful, but it doesn't know its own strength.
The tornado zoomed by Lila, and she could feel the air tickle her cheeks. She blinked. It didn't feel mean. It felt excited. Like a puppy that didn't know how to stop wagging its tail. Miss Bramble held up her wand.
Remember what we learned about wild magic. We don't fight it, we understand it,
she said. The children nodded nervously. The tornado suddenly bumped into a shelf and knocked over a jar of glitter. The entire room sparkled. Tilly groaned.
Oh no! Now everything is going to sparkle forever.
Lila felt her heart thump. She remembered her lesson from last week. Magic is strongest when it's guided by kindness, not force. She slowly stepped forward.
Little tornado?
She whispered. The spinning puff slowed just a tiny bit, as if listening. Lila knelt down. The wind ruffled her hair like soft fingers.
I think you're just trying to play, but you're making everyone a little scared,
she said gently. The tornado spun in a small circle. It didn't fly away. So Lila reached into her pocket and pulled out a little ribbon, her favorite ribbon, pale blue with a silver edge. She held it up.
Do you want to play with this instead?
She asked softly. The tiny tornado swirled closer. The ribbon lifted from Lila's fingers and began to float. The tornado curled around the ribbon, twisting it into little spirals. The spinning slowed. The wind softened. Soon, instead of a wild gust, it was just a gentle swirl that barely rustled Lila's hair. The classroom grew quiet. Miss Bramble smiled.
Well done, Princess Lila.
The tiny tornado floated in front of Lila. Then it did something amazing. It bowed. Not a big bow, just a tiny twirly dip. Lila giggled.
You're welcome,
She said. The tornado zipped toward the open window, carrying the ribbon with it. It hovered once, as if waving goodbye, then slipped outside into the blue sky. The room was finally still. Papers settled. Curtains relaxed. Benny's hat fell softly onto his head again. Everyone cheered. Tilly hugged Lila.
You did it!
Benny grinned.
You didn't even use a spell.
Lila blushed.
I just talked to it.
Miss Bramble nodded proudly.
That is the greatest kind of magic, understanding.
She said. Later that day, while they cleaned up the glitter, which, as Tilly predicted, would definitely sparkle forever, Lila looked out the window. Far above the clouds, she saw a tiny shimmer of wind twirling happily through the sky, her blue ribbon trailing like a comet's tail. Lila smiled. She hadn't stopped the storm with power. She'd calmed it with kindness. And that felt like the strongest magic of all. The end.